Hey, what's up everyone? I hope you're all having a wonderful time. Today we're going to showcase everything you need to know about how to get your Templar all the way throughout the campaign the easiest way. Also some general leveling tips that I got for all of my new characters, and this playthrough is going to focus more specific on the Righteous Fire Inquisitor, which will be my league starter for Sentinel League. But if you are going for another build, don't worry, you can easily respec once you get to maps. This works for pretty much all spell-based skills of your choosing. Maybe you're new to Path of Exile or just want to check on some new method to speed up the leveling experience or make your journey more pleasant. This is going to be from the Sentinel League, as I mentioned, from the league start, so we don't have any previous uniques or currency, but I will include a starter kit if you are checking this guide out as a non-league starter. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to like and subscribe if you find this guide helpful and want to show your support. And with all of that out of the way, let's begin. So I want to start to talk a little bit about the class that I'm aiming to do for this character. So as I mentioned, we are going for a Righteous Fire Inquisitor build, and this is a very tanky build, so it works perfectly for Sentinel League, where everything hits very hard. One of the great ways with the build as well is that the progression curve is very good. And what I mean by this is that you can start the build with almost zero investment, and you can also spend hundreds of exiles to make it improve even more. It's a very good to league start with. The playstyle is very simple. You most likely just charge around with your Righteous Fire on and everything will just die around you. Very basic stuff, exactly how I prefer to play. So let's go over how the skills is going to work that we're going to use while leveling this character. So to start with, if this is your first character on the league start, I usually go and make a Scion. You want to make this so you get access to the Onslaught support gem. And also we can use this character to bide explosive traps. The explosive traps is one of my favorite skills to use. It got this great shotgun effect when it detonates the traps. And we're also going to use this as a filler skill later on when we do transition to Righteous Fire. It deals flat physical damage and got a 50% conversion to fire. And this is mainly going to be used for single target. The Onslaught support gem makes it so we gain the Onslaught effect, providing us with a 20% attack, cost, and movement speed buff when it gets triggered. At level 4 we get access to our next skill, which will be Holy Flame Totem. And this is going to be for clearing faster. Just put it down and continue to run while everything dies behind you. And this, the same as the explosive traps, got the flat physical damage with 50% conversion to fire, making it so that we can scale them the same way. Perfect combination. This can also be used as an extra damage source while fighting bosses for a faster progression. We also want to pick up Flame Wall for even more damage. Really good to use during bosses. The projectiles from the totem, for instance, get additional fire damage if they are shooting throughout the flame. And you can also put the flame under a boss for even more damage. So these are going to be the main damage skills that we are using. So we have 3, that's very good. One common mistake a lot of new players do is that they only use 1 damage skill, and that's not good at all. I always recommend having at least 2. And if you can squeeze in 3, that's really awesome. At level 16, you will get access to the Righteous Fire skill. I would not recommend using it though until we get to around level 55, because it is going to be very hard to keep your health up before that point. But overall, very smooth leveling with Righteous Fire, or the last act at least. And as I mentioned before, the playstyle with that is pretty much you only use your shield charge to move around, and everything will just die by your Righteous Fire. It's a very satisfying playstyle. So let's move over to leveling gear. And here I want to show you some alternative leveling gear for a faster progression. If you got some gear or currency to obtain some of these items, I do recommend you do so. First up, let's start with everyone's favorite body armor, and it's the Tabula Rasa, no surprise there. This gives us a 6-link from the start, really strong body armor to start with. Next for the helm, we got the gold rim, providing us with all resist. For gloves, we can use Loctonial, Caress for some life and also some attack and cast speed. For boots, we have some different options. The more common one is to use a Wanderlust for freeze immunity and some movement speed. You can also choose to go with 7-leg step if you got some more currency, if you really want to go that extra fast. And at level 12 you can also use Abrath Hooves, which is a really cool item. Using them gives us Abrath Fury, which deal fire damage in an AoE underneath you for every step you take. And this scales with our fire damage, which makes them really good if you just want to run around and kill stuff that way. All support gems you put in the boots will get linked to the skill also, so you can scale these even further if you want to. It's a funny alternative to use, so I thought I would include it also. For weapons, you want either 2 scepters or wands with plus to all fire spell skills to boost our damage a huge amount. These can be equipped all the way from level 1, and you can easily make one just by buying a Drift 1 wand from Act 1, and then you can sell the wand with 3 different gems with a total of 40 quality and with a fire tag on them. And this will result in a magic wand with plus to all level of all fire skill gems. For amulets, rings and belt, I usually like to have them rare, so I can just change them out as I go while leveling to swap them out for resist and life pretty much. But if you really want to max out, for amulet you can use Araku Tiki for more life, or you can use Replica Carry Ward for move speed and damage. For rings, I would recommend using double Blackheart for just some more life. For the belt, using Darkness Enthroned is a great option. You will need to get some Abyss Jewels for this, and you can just get whatever you like. I always try to prioritize life, resist as much as I can, and also some attributes, if it's possible. You can also go with Perandus Blazon at level 16 for all attributes, some resist, and the flask duration. And let's go over our flasks real quick. So for the flask we want to go for a silver flask and a quicksilver for movement speed, granite for armor, and also a life and a mana flask. And if you feel that you can sustain your mana without a flask, I would recommend you to swap it out for a jade, just so you can get some more invasion while we are leveling up. And next up I want to go over the skill links. So here I will put them as if you did have access to a 6-link right away. Also I will put the gems in the same order I would prioritize them. So let's start with Explosive Trap. From the early stage at Act 1 we want to have the Onslaught support and also added lightning damage. But when we get to Act 2 we want to add Conk Effect, Control Destruction, and lastly Trap and Mind support instead. And this skill is mainly going to be for boosting our single target. Next up is Holy Flame Totem, and I actually did share this with the Flame Wall, so I had 2 5-links you could say instead of a 6-link. With these we want to get burning damage, control destruction, elemental focus, and lastly life tap. And if you don't want to use Flame Wall, you can swap it out for either Swift Affliction for more damage or GMP for a larger area coverage. This is going to be our main skills and will be so until we transition into Righteous Fire. Once you do so, it's time to replace your Holy Flame Totem and Flame Wall with Righteous Fire. And here we want to link it in the following way. First up, burning damage, elemental focus, life tap, swift affliction, conk effect, and for last you have a couple of different options. If you're new, I would recommend efficacy support for some extra damage. You can also go for increased area of effect for just a bigger righteous fire. Or if you do get the currency for it, a empowered support would be the best option of all the three. And this skill is going to be used quite late in the campaign, so you don't really have to worry about the links right now. You can easily go back at Act 6, where you will have everything available for you by talking to Lily Roth, all except empowered support. Later on, we get access to the flammability curse for some minus fire resist to our enemies. And we will also use Wave of Conviction for exposure, so we deal even more damage. For mobility, you can use whatever you want pretty much. I'm going to use Frostblink for this, which is a great skill to use later on for the build as well. And all these skills you want to link to a level 1 life tap when you feel that you can sustain your life. And the reason that you want a level 1 is because if you do get a higher level on the life tap, you will just sacrifice more life, which is just unnecessary for the skills that you do not use as your damage skills. For auras, we want Clarity for mana regen and also Vitality for life regen. Vitality is also giving your flame totems some regen as well, making them more tanky early on. And we also like to go for a Herald of Ash for a damage boost. And lastly, depending on how you feel, you could either go with Purity of Elements for all resist and also the element immunity. Or you could go for Malevolence for more damage over time. I don't really use Malevolence until I swap to Righteous Fire, but you could if you want to. And also a quick note, when you do switch over for life tap on your skills, you don't need Clarity anymore, obviously. And you can also put a Molten Shell on your left mouse button, so you don't need to have to worry about the skill, and you will just use it all the time when you are just running around. Okay everyone, let's go over the passive tree. So to start with, you want to go this path right here for some damage. And next up I want to go for Amplify for area damage. Then we go down here, pick the life, and also this one for life regen and some stats. Next up, going to the left, we're going for more elemental damage and resist. All the way down here for the life node. And here you can also go and pick the mastery for 50 to maximum life. Next up, going upwards, and here I like to go to the left here, and we're going this one and take Divine Judgment, 50% increased elemental damage, pretty huge. Moving up, we're going this way, and then we take this way right here for Holy Fire. And for Fire Mastery here, you can go and take this one for even more fire damage over time multiplier. Then we want to go down here and upward here for the damage over time nodes. And also here you can go and grab 10% less damage taken from damage over time. I usually wait to pick this until I transition to Righteous Fire, but I will include it either way right now. And next, go down here, take the fire damage over here, and increased fire damage and area of effect. Oh, and we also have these life nodes right here that you can pick. And next up, I usually go the way down here. Let's see, down here. And here you have a lot of life regen and regen rate, really good. Barbarism for more life and the maximum fire resist, which is going to be really huge when we do transition to Righteous Fire. Following the path down here, we have Juggernaut for even more life and armor. And then we go this way down here, and here we have Call to Arms. And once you get to this point, you can choose to go for Endurance Cry, and the Endurance Cry is providing us with a lot of life regen, and it also provides with some endurance charges. And this is really good to use on your left mouse button and just auto using while you are moving around. So as soon as you got to this point, you have the option to use that skill if you want to. Next, picking up all the life nodes here, very huge. And at this point we are really close to transition to Righteous Fire, so now we want to pick all the resist nodes. So Soul of Steel is a really huge one, we get armor and all maximum elemental resist. So this we want to pick, and we want to go this way and upwards over here. And then to the left here we have all these maximum resist nodes. So obviously we want to go for fire at first, and prismatic skin for 2% to all maximum elemental resist. So at this point we have 1 to fire here, we have 2, so that's 3 and 4, and over here we get 5. So we have 5 plus 2 fire resist. Really good stuff. So yeah, so this is pretty much the tree that you want to go for. And if you are getting a couple of points more, which you probably will, then you could go for the auras here, so you can squeeze in 1 additional aura. And here you want to go for the mana reservation. Really good nodes over here, and you have 1 similar down here as well at the resist. And it's these nodes over here, champion of the cause, really good one. And here for the mastery you can also take this one, so your auras get stronger on you. And one last thing is the Juvel sockets. So you have 1 down here, you have 1 over here, and also 1 here. I will include this path of building in the description as well, so you should check the build as it is right now if you want to try it out. Let's go over the Ascendancy real quick. So we are going for an Inquisitor, and the first point that you want to go for is this one, Sanctuary, and this is providing us with consecrated ground. And the next one is going to be Pious Path, and this is making it so the life regen also works for NG Shield. And at this point, when you get this is a great time to transition into Righteous Fire, because it will be very easy to sustain your life at this point. And for the third, we want to go for Augury of Patience for increased elemental damage, and also we take less elemental damage from enemies. And for the last point is Righteous Providence, and this is mainly going to be taken for the plus 50 to strength and intelligence. Alright, so let's continue going over the acts. So let's start from Act 1. Here, as I mentioned, you want to first make a scion to get access to the explosive trap, and then also transferring over the Onslaught support gem. If you are going for this as a league starter, I recommend you check the vendor for green, blue item, also for some boots with move speed on them. The green, blue can be on any item, but I do recommend not having it on your boots, because we are most likely going to change them out as soon as we get a new pair with more move speed on them. Also try not to get it on a body armor because of the move speed penalty you will get if you have a chest equipped. Not the biggest issue, but can be good to be aware of it. And you can also check for a red, blue for your Holy Flame totem. Once you get to ledge, I usually head back to town and buy myself the Holy Flame totem, and here you could grab the Flame Wall also. You can also get your mobility skill from the quest now as well. Both the Holy Flame and Flame Wall, as well as the Explosive Trap, will be your main damage abilities until we transition to Righteous Fire later on in the campaign. But more about that in a bit. So I only use Flame Totem now pretty much, and then use the Explosive Traps for elites and rares, and also the Flame Wall for bosses. And by doing this, most loot will be dropped behind us. This meaning having a good loot filter is quite important, so we do not miss out on any of the important loot. Once at Brutus, you can use your totem to taunt him to ease your way with him. Brutus can hit quite hard, so perfect to distract him with your totems. And after you defeat him, you can head back home to town to get the Clarity aura from the quest and also go and buy Vitality from the vendor. From here, we go and kill the last boss, easy peasy. I'd like to mention that I was very lucky this league start, as I did get a tabula early on, which have never happened before to me on any league start, so I was quite shocked about that. I also got a wand with +2 fire skill as well, which is huge, and this carried me all the way until early red maps. I just like to mention it, always try the new league mechanics, because it is going to be very rewarding most of the times. At Act 2, after you're done Intruder in Black, you will get access to Herald skills, and here I want to pick Herald of Ash. You could also go with Herald of Purity if you like to. Also want to buy Wave of Conviction, and this is great using on bosses and rares. And this skill applies fire exposure to enemies, meaning you will do more damage with your flame totem and explosive trap. For the bandits, you want to kill them all for the extra passive point. After you kill the Weaver, the big ass spider boss, you will get access to some more support gems like Conk Effect, Control Destruction, Elemental Focus, and also Trap and Mine support to boost our damage even further. After you've done the quest Root of the Problem, you will be able to pick Righteous Fire skill. Put it in your offhand so it gains some experience while we do play through the campaign. Once we get to Act 3, after you've done the quest Lost in Love, you will then get your Flammability Curse. And this is going to be huge damage buff for us, this making it so enemies will get less fire resist and therefore us doing more damage. And this also stacks with the fire exposure from Wave of Conviction as well. Pretty awesome stuff there. At Act 4, if you are struggling with your survivability, you could go and pick the Stone Golem for the extra life regen it provides. You will also get access to Hexatouch support, which can be linked with your Wave of Conviction and Flammability. And this is making it so when you are using your Wave of Conviction, you will also now apply the Flammability Curse as well. These are optional if you want them for some quality of life, and can be obtained once you kill Malachi, the last boss in Act 4. Once at Act 5, I usually go and do my first lab, and here we want to ascend to the Inquisitor, and we want to pick Sanctuary as our first talent. This will provide us with consecrated ground while we are stationary, providing us with additional life regen while standing on it. And once you get to Act 6, your resist will be lowered by a 30%. And at this stage it can feel like the enemy hit you quite hard. Here I like to go and check on our resist. To do so, go and do some resist craft on your gear by using your craft bench in your hideout. I want to recommend doing the first resist though, because the next one can be quite expensive. And at Act 7 there isn't really much to say after that. Just continue as before. Once you get to Act 8, you can at this point do your crew lab. And once that's done, you want to pick Pious Path as your second talent. And this is going to make it so our life regen also apply to our energy shield. And this is huge for our survivability, and also after that you can easily transition to Righteous Fire. Just keep in mind to have your fire resist capped at least, and you should be good to go. And for the links for this, go check the start of the video. You can easily use the timestamps by jumping back and forth easily. So as I mentioned, we swapped out the totem and the flame wall for Righteous Fire, but we're still going to use the explosive trap as before as the filler skill for some harder enemies like rare or bosses. And the playstyle after moving over to Righteous Fire is going to be the best feeling ever. You just run around everything until you get 2 maps pretty much. You can also go and grab yourself a shield charge with the faster attack and a life tap. And to use this, you obviously need a shield as well. Act 9 and 10 is just a walking simulator at this point, But I do have a last tip, and that's doing Merciless Lab, the third one, before killing Kitava in Act 10. Doing this might be easier to do just because the fact that you will get another resist penalty after you killing Kitava. So better doing the lab before it gets even harder. Once you've done that, here we want to pick Augury of Patience as our third Ascendancy, for some increased elemental damage, and also so we take less elemental damage from enemies. Alright everyone, there we go. We got ourselves throughout the campaign with our Templar and going to own the endgame with our Righteous Fire build. And as I mentioned at the start, it is a fun journey to progress on this build. You can be successful with just a low budget, and you can also invest a huge amount of currency to make it god tier. If you want some additional tips about the build, I will post my version of it in the near future. But for now, I will put my current POB in the description if you just want to check it out as it is right now. Also, you can go and check out my other videos about how I make all of my gear for my Righteous Fire build, with some easy methods and some cheap options also. They're all pretty easy to understand, even if you're new to the game or just have started with crafting. And if you watch all the way till the end, I thank you for sticking by, and I hope this video was helpful. And if it was, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel to show your support. It do mean a lot to me. And with that said, I'll see you in the next one. Bye!